Thank you and good evening. I'm glad that we have this nice music and we can just start by being more happy and then understanding better what's going on in our minds. We want to start to repeat a little bit what we learned last night so that we can then grasp from there on where we go. So, headache, atopic dermatitis, fever, food fungus, flu, tinnitus, tooth caries, skin rash, rubella, heart attacks. What is the body communicating here? We have seen that the body communicates and gives messages then when he has a lack of something. So we know all what hunger means, do we? Yes? We know what thirst is. We know what tiredness is, especially when you're in jet lag, yes? You know what that means. Then, when you don't get enough breath, then you know it's lack of oxygen. When you're freezing, then it's lack of warmth. And then, sweating, it's too much heat. All those things are very plain known for us. But when the body says there is an inflammation, or like I got the question of a grave disease, which is an autoimmune thing, of the thyroid, hyperthyroidism, or pain, or any dysfunction in the body, what does the body tell us? What do we lack of? Now, the signals we have seen from the body are intentional, they are not unintentional. They have to be precise, and so we have to understand it. So, is this all we need? Is it enough to have oxygen? Is it enough to have water? Is it enough to have good food? Is it enough to have good sleep? Is it enough to have sunshine? Do we need sunshine?
Yes.
Yes? Is it enough to have warmth? Is that all we need? Or do we need more? Do we need more?
Yes.
Are these things making us happy? Well, they give us some pleasure and some satisfaction. But there is something in our lives that really makes us happy. What are we humans treasure most? What brings us the greatest joy? What is the fulfillment of our life? Eating and drinking? So what is it? It's relationships. And why do we have relationships? What is our need? It's love. Do you think you have relationships by occasion or by no choice? Do we need relationships or do we not need relationships? Can we live without? Yes, we know the first relationship we have here is that a choice that a baby needs a mother. It's a choice. Can she choose her mother?
No.
Can she? No. Is that relationship important, mother and child? Yes or no?
Yes.
How important?
It's very important.
It's very important because that relationship is established because of the need of love. Have you seen a child that goes after his mother all the time? I had the privilege to see the growing of a child since God didn't give us children. We had not children of our own, but we had then 6 foster children because a family in our church mother left the family and the father left, and then the children were alone, and so we could have the privilege to take all those 6 children, but they were age 7 to age 17, so we didn't see them growing up. But in my practice, my helper married and got pregnant and got a child, and after 1 year of being in the motherhood, she comes back and wants to work again. And I say, well, it's better if you stay home to take care of your child. But she says, no, we bought a house and we have mortgage to pay. And so, however, by law, I am required to take her back. I cannot say I don't take you anymore. So I said, let's do an arrangement. And I did this arrangement not without my own interest. I said, I take you back together with child. So the 1-year-old son, we were raising him in my practice for 2.5 years, until she got another child and then could raise 2 children in the practice. We put how can I say, a room especially for the child, just beside my consultation rooms, so that I had a door to see him when I open it. And I could observe how a child develops from the age 1 to 3.5 by my own eyes. You see, I'm a very doubting person. I need to explore things by myself. Then I know for sure they are so. And what do you think? This baby, this little child, he had a good thing together with me. We had something in common. We like to eat. Yeah, we like to eat. So we were sitting at the table in the kitchen in the practice, and then mother went to do something because she had to take care also to work something in the practice, not just take for the child. And since I was with the child, she could do some work. Now, how long did that child stay with me before he asked, where is mom? How long did he stay? Oh, a few minutes, and then he needed to have his mom there. And then he was crying. He had all the food in front of him. Was he hungry for food? Not at all. But why was he searching for his mom? Did he need her? For what? Just for one reason. Because he needs love. He needs security. His mom is everything for him. You see, whenever he was in a danger, when he was growing up and could speak, did he ever cry doctor when he was in danger? Yes or no? No, what did he cry? Ma! And then sometimes his mom had to go to do a hearing test, and she left him in his room, in his bed, you know. Then he started to cry. He said, ee, you know. And then I opened the door because I was here with my patient. Said, shh. So he looked at me, was quiet for a moment. Then I closed the door, and then it was even greater. There is a dependency on love that I could see in the children and in my patient. I was blind until then, but when I saw it, I knew. But I even saw when the child got certain, when his nose was running. Why was his nose running? Because then I asked his mom what kind of stress is at home. And then the mother shared me her stress and says, that's why the nose is running. So even children have stress. And we'll see maybe tomorrow night how that works. So relationships are our greatest treasure. They are the best thing we have in life. But because of something that we will share tonight, these relationships become our destiny if they don't work. That's the tragedy. So everything we enjoy is in relationships because it is a need. We need to have them. And if they are not working well, we will see them in the body. So, relationships are just in our mind. Can thoughts about them cause disease, is the question. Because that's what I came out to understand after 2.5 years, and now after 20 years in my practice, I know it for sure. Because I have all the proof of the law that without love, there is no life. Without love, there is no life. So what are thoughts? Because love is a thought. Will you? Love is a thought, an information that you need to see or to be aware of. Where does the thought are coming from? Where do they start? What can they do? And we saw last night that everything comes from what our thinking, what our thoughts. So if everything that we do, my vocal cords are listening to my command, do they? Or do they speak by themselves? So if I can, with my thought, move my vocal cord, how much can I move in my body with my thought? How much? Everything. Everything. So if I can speak, if my vocal cords are listening to me, and you know, we can detect a lie by the vocal cords. Because you can have a lie with your vocal cords, you know that? When you lie, you do another way of making the waves, and you can detect that. Because it's precise. It's a subconscious process. So, if everything we do is from our thoughts, then our thoughts have the most important role in our health. That's how it is, and then we'll see how it works. So how can we find out if disease is caused by a lack of love? You know, in those 2.5 years, I gave to all my patients one diagnosis. Whatever they came to me with, if it was the parotid that was swollen and the ingrown nail, if it was the tonsillitis, if it was an ear infection, it was all a lack of love. Now, I got in trouble with that. You know why? Because we are in my city, we have 4 ENTs. So whenever they went into vacation, they referred the patient to come to me to see them, to do the urgent care for them. So while I did the urgent care for them, I also asked them about their relationships. Because I said I want to help them to see the cause. And so when they went off and went back to their first doctor, they told him that their ear infection comes from a relationship issue. What did the doctor say? He says, we cannot refer anyone anymore to him because he will confuse them, telling them it comes from their lack of love because they got sick. So I'm quite exotic in my city. But right now, after 20 years, most patients know when they have an issue they cannot solve, where do they come? They come to me. And that's the best patient when anyone has tried with them all kinds of things, and now they come and say, you're my last chance. I say, wonderful. We fix it. Because now we know what we address. So how can we find out that disease is nothing else than a lack of love? And that isn't that a challenging idea? Yes or no? Does it challenge you? 100%. And now you need to prove that is so. So, what do we need to know? We certainly need to know the nature of man and his needs and the law that governs our lives. Now, in order to be sure of something, we need to have an unchangeable measure. And we explored this last night. I just repeat it for those who have not been here and for those who have been, so that we are aware we always judge everything according to a standard. And it's either a foreknowledge that we have that is absolute, or a foreknowledge that we have that is not absolute. And our answers will be correct according to the measure we use. You use a right measure, you will have a right answer. If you use a wrong measure, you will have a wrong answer. Is that clear? Everything depends on the measure you use for the information you believe or not believe. But you can never not use a measure, because our mind is always evaluating everything. You see, when you hear me speaking, does that word penetrate your mind or not? No, you just hear it. It only gets into you when you say, aha, that is so. If you say, no, I don't believe that, how much does it help you? Nothing. That's why you need to know on what basis you take in an information and on what basis you let it out. And that must be a conscious process, because usually it works unconsciously and subconsciously. So, we need a reference that we can rely on, no matter what we see outside. We need to know this is possible or not. If I would let this thing to circle around here in the air, would you believe it that this thing can fly? Even you see that it flies, would you believe that it flies? I hope not. I mean, even though someone would do something like that, you would know that that cannot do it by itself, because the law says everything that is physical cannot move itself by itself. It must be moved by some other force. So we might see things, and someone will say, you see, that can fly by itself. No, it cannot, because the law does not permit it. Someone needs to make it fly. Is that clear? So, the information must be not movable or changeable, without contradiction. It must be simple to understand. And we saw that the law of nature is very simple. The universe is built on a simple law, because everything was made in the same pattern. Everything is a channel, it functions like a channel, it has an entrance and an exit, and nothing can exist or function by itself. It needs first to take the power, but it does not use the power for itself, but it passes it on. Is that good? I once was in Myanmar, not far away from here, far away from here, and I was in a school, and on this side were the girls, and on that side were the boys. Now, if you ask the girls if they need love, what would they say? Yes? And I asked the girls, even though you know in the Asian countries people don't speak so much, so you have to make them speak. So the girls answered that they need love. How much love do they need? A lot or a lot? Now the question was then, for whom do you need that love? So you are the girls and you are the boys. So for whom do you need that love? For the boys, exactly. That's why you need them, not for you. But what do we think? We need love for whom? For ourselves. Love only brings its function in our lives when we give it. So we need it, we need love in order to pass it on. If it sticks with us, it kills us. Because love has to be passed on, and everything in our body doesn't keep anything for itself. How much oxygen does the lung keep for itself when we inhale? How much? How much of the oxygen the lung keeps from that breath? How much? 0%. It all gives it into the blood. And from where does the lung get its oxygen? Well, it takes it from the ear, but it doesn't take it for itself. It just passes it on to the blood, and it gets its oxygen from the blood, not from its own inhalation. So, the stomach, how much of the food does it keep for himself? Anything? No. If he would keep a little thing, in a while, after a while, he would be a closed channel. And then the whole body would die, the whole being would die. So, this is a very simple law, but it stabilizes everything in my life. Because it is basic to everything. This bottle of water needs how much water for itself? How much? How much water does the bottle need? Nothing. But for what purpose was it made? To keep water, to have water. So you have to fill it up, and then what do? Does the bottle keep it for itself? Imagine if we fill up the bottle with water, and when we want to drink, the bottle wouldn't give us the water. What do we do with the bottle? We'll throw it away because it's worth nothing. So, this simple law is the most important thing we need to understand. Because everything in nature was made to serve the common good. The stomach doesn't take the water for itself. The heart doesn't beat for itself. The lung doesn't take in the oxygen for itself. Nothing. Nothing in this world, nothing in nature does that except the human mind. We will see why that is so. The human mind thinks love is for me. Security is for me. Righteousness is for me. So, in the physical world, we have no issue with the law. Everything works accordingly. Because everything has to work in a circle. Now, there is an order of function. We have learned it yesterday. What comes first? The exit, the entrance, the taking, or the giving. So the first comes the taking, and second is the exit. Can the order be changed? And we said it can never be changed. You can never give before you take, because you have nothing. Imagine I would drink before I take water. Is that possible? So the order is absolute, never changing. So beautiful. Everything would stop working if in one circle, one channel would switch that. So, we have seen that we have a structure, we are built the same way, we have the same functions, we have the same basic needs, love and chemistry, and we came to understand that something is first and something is second. What is first? Love comes always first, and chemistry is second. You know, when our daughter got in love, and you might have experienced that too. Did she still need food? No, I tell you no. When you are in love, you don't need to eat, you don't need to drink, you don't need to sleep, because you are in love. Is it so? Anyone experience that? Because love is more important. I once had a mother who came to me and said, my daughter, at the age of 21, wrote me a letter of saying goodbye. She said, Mother, now I want you to not give me any food anymore, because I'm going to stop eating because I want to die at the age of 21. So if you would be a mother and your daughter at the age of 21 comes to you with a letter and says, "Mother, leave me alone, I want to die." You know why? Why would a girl at the age of 21 deny food and would rather die than live? For what thing? What was she missing? There is no other reason that someone takes his life except he's not satisfied on the spiritual level of life. Her boyfriend left her 5 months before, and she could not overcome that. And so she said, "I'd rather die than live without a boyfriend." Why would she do that? What is more important, food or love? I'll give you another example of one of my patients. She was with a trauma at my place, and she was telling me her story. She had a boyfriend that had a hard time letting her go. And she had a boyfriend in the country where she came from, but she moved to Germany, and there in Germany, she called the boyfriend to tell him that it is over. You know why? She was talking to him on the phone. He jumped from the 11th story into death. Why did he do that? Does he not have enough food? What was driving him to kill himself? What? The need of love. So if you are not convinced that love is your first need, then you need to come to my practice. Because I have a lot of also colleagues, but also training people that come and stay with me a week or two, and they see it. And when they come and sit with me, they see what I see. And they say, "It's amazing. It's amazing that you see the same things in every patient that comes to you. When you want to see it, it's there." So love is first. Food and even life is secondary to love. Because in love, we have also purpose. There is no purpose in eating. Is there purpose in eating? Is eating a means or a purpose? Why do we eat? To fulfill the purpose of our life? By eating? I hope that it's all clear. We eat, we drink, in order to fulfill a purpose, but drinking is never a purpose. It's just you take something that is not a purpose. I need it, it's a need, but I need it in order to use it in order to pass things on. So love is first, and that is under law, and no one can change it. All are absolute. There is no other option, because it's law, and that is science. For me, science is something that you can measure, and you don't need faith for it. And that we need love, even though love is a spiritual thing. Is anyone here who doubts his need for love? I don't think so. Because since we are conceived in our mother's womb, our first thing remains love. Remains love. So, the right functional order, remember this from last night? The horse must be in front of the wagon. The wrong order is non-functional. You have the same items, but you switch the thing and then it's gone. And then we saw that this fly does first drink before it gives up. So now everything is a channel and works accordingly. First to take and then to give. need to know the human being by what he works. We saw that he has many organs, and they are all connected in the brain. And they all work in a circle. And a circle must have a beginning and an end. So where is the beginning of the circle? It's also there where it is the end, yes? Every circle begins at the place and also ends at the place. So where does all water come? How can we know where the water is originally coming from? How can we know? We look to nature. Where it goes. Where does all water go? It goes to the sea. So all water comes from the sea. That's simple. Yeah? So where it goes, there's also the beginning. So every circle has a beginning and an end at the same place. And now the question is, where is the circle of the human being starts? Because there it also ends. Would that be nice to know? Yes? I mean, for me as a physician, that was my prayer when I went to God. I said, if you don't teach me where the things start, I am not able to do anything. So, the body needs a coordinator. Someone needs to tell him what to do and not what to do. Now, he has settings, but those settings can only work if they have power. And the question is, where does the power come that moves my hands and my vocal cords? Where does that power come? From eating? How much food do we need to eat in order to speak? You need chemistry, but chemistry doesn't move your vocal cords. By what are the vocal cords moved? You had a homework to do. Still remember the homework? We have a brain, and there we have all the connections that go from the external to the internal. You know, the outer cortex is the external layer from where all the elements in the body are governed. So here we have the nervous system, and they all work with an electrical impulse. The muscles and everything that we move is not moved by water, neither by food. It is moved through an electrical impulse. Are you with me? In our human being, we have two elements that govern the body. That is the electrical impulse and the chemistry. You always need both in order to work together. But what the one does, the other cannot do. So that's why they must combine. I remember once, it was my hardest tour I did in my life. We went with our children after we got them in 1998. In 1999, we went with all 6 children to do a vacation for 6 weeks in the United States. I rented a bus for 9 people. We bought some tents, and we went off to see the national parks. No, America is a beautiful place. And so we went to Grand Canyon because that was one of my child's desires to go there. I went once when I was first time in America. First thing I went to the Grand Canyon. Anyone have been in the Grand Canyon? I hope so. So Grand Canyon goes very down. It's about 1,500 meters, I think, goes down to the thing. And now we started with the 3 boys and me, and with another group of Germans that we met there on the campground. At 3 o'clock in the night to run down, so to come back before the sun is very, very hot. Now, my 18, 15, and 13 boys, did I cope with them? No, off they went. And I went in after them, with his other group, it was also a physician and his family. And now, you need a gallon of water, a gallon during that coming up from the river. And I had some student food. You know what student food is? It's raisins. I mean this, yeah, some seeds, you know, sunflower seeds and raisins, and so it's sugar. Now, what do you think? We upwent, and that's a way you think you never get to it. So what did fire us on? Was it food or our will? It was our will. Yes, the electrical power. But at the moment you come to the place, and even my 3 sons experienced this. They were not up yet, they were exhausted. We had water, and you know the rangers are all over because they know that people are not very well equipped when they go up there. And they gave them some cookies with salt. Yeah? Salt cookies. And in the moment they ate those salt cookies, do we need salt? Yes. And so that's chemistry. And now the electrical power of their will could work well because of the salt. But I had my student food, so to say, and in any curve, I took a mouthful of it, and it gave me the power. I had enough will, but I also needed chemistry in order to make it happen. So we need always 2 elements that has to work together. And so, but the one does not what the other does. So if I don't have the chemistry, even though my will is powerful, it will not work. So we always need to have both at the same time. But what does move us is the will. It's the thought. So that's why we have to know what comes first in our life. What comes first? The thought or the brain? And it's a very important question because can the brain think? Most of the scientist world believes, not all, thank God that there are scientists that say there is more than the brain, but the idea of how does a thought appear is full of unknowledge. So what is the brain made of? I go just by those things that we can understand so that we can exclude that what is not possible. So the brain is made out of chemistry. You know this table? Yes? So brain is made out of chemistry. And what is the incapacity of chemical elements? Because that we can then rule out. Can chemical elements feel? Your phone, does it feel when you touch it? When you touch the screen? Does it feel something? You can say, yeah, yes, of course, look, you touch it? Yes? Does it feel? Does it think? I hope not. But some phones can speak. Can your phone speak? Can it? Looks like. Can artificial intelligence think? Yes or no? They can say whatever you want because they come out and say artificial intelligence makes their own things. It's never possible. It's just programmed. But you see, it's a program that can work. But The artificial intelligence cannot choose, cannot decide, cannot destroy themselves. You see, one of the greatest things that has proven to me that we have more than a brain is that we can destroy our brain by our own thoughts. And you cannot destroy this by itself. It cannot destroy by itself, because the power must come always from the external. The law does not permit it. And if someone can destroy himself, he must have two powers. One that is destroyed, and the other that destroys it. They cannot govern themselves, they know nothing, they have no morals. Yeah? So, where do these things come then? Humans can feel. Can you feel?
Yes.
Are you happy that you can feel? I hope so. Now, of course, we are sometimes happy when we feel pain. That doesn't make us so much happy, but it also helps us, because if we would not feel pain, we would not know that we lack love, or we have hit ourselves, or had an accident. Then humans can destroy themselves. I had many patients who tried to kill themselves and did not succeed. Why would you jump from a bridge? This was a 21-year-old boy that at the age of 16 he said, I took the decision, if I'm not happy with 21, I will kill myself. And so at the age of 21, his girlfriend quit with him, and he said, this is it, my life is a mess. And so he jumped from a bridge of 20 meters high. You know how high is 20 meters? And he jumped on cement. But he survived. He fell on his foot. He broke his legs. He was in coma, I don't know how long. But he came to my practice at the age of 47. So, would ever a brain think I have now to kill myself? Why would he kill himself? Humans have cognitive abilities. You like this picture? He obviously did something wrong, did he? Yes? And she knows that he did wrong. How does she know that he did wrong? Who told her that he did wrong? So we have cognitive abilities. We can understand things. And we know what is wrong and right because we have morals. Where do they come from? And then we can choose. Can you choose? Mostly the wrong, but you choose. So, where is our ability to choose? Where is it? I cannot bring you all the proofs, but you can watch on my YouTube channel, Law of Life, how I came to understand that we are more than just a brain. And I came to it by simple function and by the law. I excluded what the brain cannot do, what matter cannot do. And I said, why is it like this? So we need freedom. Do you need freedom? Yes? Security, curiosity, understanding, orientation, harmony, faithfulness, confirmation, reward, righteousness, truth, morals, joy, and so on. How many spiritual needs do we have? I didn't count all of them. They might be even infinite, I don't know. But they are much more than physical needs, yes? Which is chemistry and... so, these things cannot be found in the brain. Can you open up the brain cell and say, oh, here I have the need, the cell says I won't work if I have no security. Do we find that cell? Can we find that cell? No, because it's not there. Cannot be understood by the brain. And cannot be processed by the brain. So there must be someone that is able to process this and even can see if it has enough of it or not, or if it is the right one or the opposite one. Have you ever tried to give a command to a child? And how did that child react when you gave the command? Were they happy? They just happy to serve you because you command them, please go there and do this? No. Because we have a need for freedom. We want to do what we want to do. So there must be a human spirit or a human mind that can process information. The body can get in information, and we'll see tomorrow night how we store our information. But the information itself is a spiritual matter. So thoughts, we put that question at the beginning. What are thoughts? Thoughts are processing of spiritual information. The Word of God, if you want, or whatever information you need, you process it. That's why people stay on the phone. Do you have Facebook? I don't have that. I don't do advertising for myself, that's why I don't even have Facebook. But I would have no time for Facebook. But why do people have Facebook? Because of food or of love? It's love. Because all search for approval. Thumbs up, or I heard that you get from, yeah? Everyone wants approval. Because it's love, you need confirmation for that. So that is just in your mind. It's nowhere else. And now, the most important thing is to understand a processing of an information leads to a decision. And the decision makes the electrical impulses. This is the connection between the mind and the body. The body needs electricity, it has electricity, but it needs someone to coordinate it. And that coordination is done by the decisions. And we can even prove this. In the lab, you can see that a decision makes an electrical impulse. Just that those who observe that say, oh, the decision comes, and this is where that's weird, the decision is the result of the electrical impulse. Can that be? So what comes first? The decision or the impulse? Because in science, and some of the scientists, the normal ones, they say because of the synapses, they make an electrical impulse, and there the thought arises. But that is upside down. Because can the brain govern itself by impulses? Yes or no? Why not? Because the law does not permit it. Have you ever seen a car or anything that works with its own power? Yes or no? Nothing. So if the brain works by electricity, can it make itself the power? It's impossible. So that's why the impulses that we give into our brain by everything we do are the connection between our decisions, our thoughts, and what happens in the body. So I decide if I walk. What do I? Of my brain just follows the command, and everything that is bound to it must do it. So that's very important to understand. The connection is the governing of the body is through electrical impulses, and those are decisions. And decisions by law must come first or second? First. Now, of course, there is a coming back, and we'll see. This is first, this is second. Now, there is a difference between the body and the mind also. Okay, she shows me 45 minutes. So, the supremacy of the mind over the body. So the mind is an entity that cannot be controlled from the outside. The body is a physical entity that can only be controlled by the outside. It cannot control itself. But the spirit controls itself. It controls itself. He governs itself from the inside. By the body cannot govern itself at all. And the spirit is always active, never passive. That's why even when we sleep, we think. You know that? There's no stopping ever in thinking. You stop breathing, you stop sleeping, you stop eating, you stop drinking, but you never stop, as long as you live, thinking. It is impossible. We would die. So, the impulse starts in the mind, it goes into the body, and from the body it goes back to the spirit, and they can only function together. They can never be separated. Like we need electricity and chemistry to the body. We need the love or the information that goes and makes the electrical impulse and governs things, and they can only function together. So they are a unit. But one comes first and the other comes second. They cannot be confused. The one that starts it and the other one is that entity. So those are simple things, I hope, for everyone. Now, we have to give a definition also of the soul. The soul is compared with the piano, the body, and you like the piano, and the piano player. So what's the result? The music. Yes? So the soul is the music. Two entities make the music. Now some people get confused because they believe the Platonic idea was that we have a body and a soul. That we have a body and a spirit that gives the soul. So those are things we could have a week to speak about, but just to have the overview, because we want to come to more practical things, the way we think. But we cannot go to there if we don't know from what we speak about. So the connection between the spirit and the body is the soul. And since all developments are on cortex level, there is the connection. And we will see the subconscious where and how that connection works. So everything that man experiences happens in the soul. We live in this area, in our head. So our eyes are located in our body, and they conduct the impulse to the cortex. The question, can the eye see? Can your eye see something? Of course not. There is no eye that can see something. It's the spirit who picks up the impulse and says, this is a picture. The same happens with our hearing, the same happens with our feelings, the same happens with our smelling and with our tastes. So there's a combination. Why can the body not see, hear, feel, smell, and taste? Why? Give me an answer so that I understand that you have understood the idea. Why can they not taste? Because they can make no decisions. The one that needs to take the decisions needs to taste. Because this is not water. Yeah, this is alcohol or whatever. Yes, so you can spew it out. The body cannot recognize that. The body will just see if it's alcohol, yes, so later on you will have a lot of issues, but it cannot taste. Your eyes need to see, and the one who sees needs to say, I look further there, or I don't look further there. So that's why the five senses are very needed for the one that takes a decision if he should follow or not that. So, spirit directs everything in the soul, satisfies its own and the body's needs. So we have an issue in the nervous system. Who do we take in account for that? do when we have a depression? What do we do when we have any other Parkinson's? My father had Parkinson's. What do we do? Where do we go to see where it comes from? He must be the one that governs the nervous system. There's no one else that can do that. Then the hormonal system. I had a beautiful experience with a young lady. She was, I think, 21 when she came to me. She got a pituitary tumor. She got the tumor, a prolactinoma, in her pituitary gland on the right side of the gland at the age of 16. And her period stopped, and the doctors gave her the hormones, and they tried to fix that. But what is stronger, nature or medication? Nature is stronger, yes? So she had to raise up the levels. She took 3 pills to get up that balance in her body so that she could function. And so when she came for counseling, and I spoke with her on Zoom because, not on Zoom, what was it? Those days were not Zoom yet. Just on Skype, yeah? And she explained to me her history. And her history was so plain, happening exactly when her tumor appeared. And since she didn't change her mind, that thing was producing the hormone. And now you come to the place, the ultima ratio in medicine is to take out the pituitary gland, take out the tumor. But that doesn't solve the problem, does it? So she came to my practice the second time. I mean, after she didn't understand all, because you see, if it's the spirit and the mind that does the thing, who needs to understand to change anything? She needs. If she doesn't understand it, no choice. So she came, she understood. And she was in August with me. In October, her MRI showed no tumor anymore. The tumor disappeared. Is that nice? She solved the issue, which was nothing else than a conflict with her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law was cheating on her sister. They had 2 children, and she was loving to her brother-in-law or unloving. If your brother-in-law cheats on your sister, how do you deal with her? Are you happy? Are you saying, oh, poor guy, let's help him? Is that your attitude? Of course not. Nowhere I go into the world ever I found the attitude, oh, let's love the sinner. Let's love the ones that do wrong. So she changed that, and her tumor disappeared, and her hormones are balanced. Then the repairing system. We have a repairing system that needs to repair the damage that we do when we cut ourselves. Do we need to do something to heal that? Or is the program there? The program is there, and it heals it. So, but if we come in between, the wound might not heal. Digestive system, I don't think to explain to you anything, because the digestive system is very clear, a nervous issue. But blood sugar balance. You know, I have experience in my practice about the blood sugar in an amazing way. And I just tell you the last one, because we have today the devices that measure your sugar, and they beep when you get into an issue. And so this lady got her type 1 diabetes at the age of 42, 2 years after her father passed away. Do you think any connection? Very clear connection. And now, I took her history. And while you take to the history of men, they experience certain emotions according to what they think. And it was amazing to see. whenever we touched a point that she was involved in, the device started beeping. And I could just see what touches her and what touches her not, just by the beeping of that device. Our blood sugar immediately responds to what we say. And you can see it on the device. If I would be an internist in internal medicine, and I would have the diabetes people, I have some because I just fish them when they come into my ENT practice, but blood sugar immediately responds to the way you think. And I'll tell you maybe one story more, even though she will kick me out because of time issue. The one story that this was a 65-year-old lady, I think, even a little bit older, and she got her diabetes just a few years ago, type 1, and she had this device, and she was the first patient that came to me with this device that shows you the blood sugar. And when I saw it, I said, oh, you can see how your blood sugar works. And she says, yes. I said, have you ever seen what happens when you have a mental issue? And of course, I was thinking to something negative, because we always think something negative, yes, instead of positive. But she was telling me a positive thing. She said, whenever I hear that my grandchildren come to visit, I am very happy. What happens with the blood sugar? It's always a little bit too high, even though if you're good balance, it's a little bit too high. She says, in the moment I hear it, and I am happy and joyful, the blood sugar starts to drop into normal. By what? By joy. By an information. They would not get good. You see, when I started my practice, I had no idea about medicine, I tell you. But I put, because I'm a Christian Adventist, I put a motto in my practice from my attending physician. You know who's my attending physician? It's King Solomon. Is that a good attending physician? To have King Solomon as attending? I think so. He was so wise that in one sentence he put the whole medicine together. What is that sentence? A merry heart is like a good medicine, and a broken spirit dries up the bones. Now, if you know physiology, you know that our diseases and inflammations come from our bone marrows. And then you know why they don't work well. Because you have a broken spirit. The Bible tells us a few times to be happy for how many things? Yeah, be joyful for all things. Wouldn't that be nice? Let's see. Maintains all body functions. So from where and how do we supply our needs? We know that we take this from nature, but from where do we take life? That's the ultimate question. And I give you my first case where I saw the pattern of thinking. And since then, I saw it in every human being. And this first case will challenge you because it is very simple. This lady is 30 years old and she comes into my practice having headache for 2 weeks. A headache that could not be removed by medication, and all this medication made her even more to suffer. So her primary doctor sent her to me to ask me if she might have a sinusitis so that I could find out what was done. I consulted her. She made a very face of suffering, but there was nothing, no pus and the nose. There was sunshine there. So I sent her urgently to the colleague that makes the CT scan, and she came the same day back with the CT scan. So did we find something? No. But now the question is pain objective or subjective? Now that's a pain, I know, We are confused sometimes. We perceive it subjectively. But pain is a physiological thing that happens in our cortex. We can make it visible through a functional MRI. And we can know that patient has pain because of the chemical reactions that are there in the brain. So pain is always objective. The perception is subjective. Some feel much, some feel less. So, she did not hurt herself. She didn't fall from somewhere. No one bet her out. Where does her brain come into the dysfunction, making her headache? And since there was no physical input, I asked her what happened 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, she got the news. And that news was that her boyfriend, with whom she lived for 1 year, was unfaithful to her. So would you have stress if you hear that? Yes or no? Would you have stress if you hear that your spouse or your... Yes? Would you? Sure. Now who should have the headache? Him or she? So, what makes her the headache? Let's look what she was thinking. Before she knew what he did, she had loving thoughts. You know, women are amazing creatures. I came to know them because I speak mostly with women in my practice. They're amazing. Because we have no idea as male what they think. We have no idea. And I came to understand the women's mind. I mean, it's a fantastic thing. They always have loving thoughts. And when they love, they don't love like men, just a little bit. You know? They just give everything. Yes? And so, she had loving thoughts toward this guy because she came from North Germany to South and gave up in the north her family, the mother and the brothers, and came down here to be with him. And whenever we have loving thoughts, how do we feel? The emotion that comes from the limbic system back is approving your thoughts. It says, think like this, and your body will get the right power. But now she hears the news. And this news is not something that she liked, does she? It's against her needs because she has a need of faithfulness, but the information is against her needs. And now what happens? What does she do now? Does she continue to love him? Yes or no? Does she change her way of thinking? What does she think? She says, oh, poor guy, I so love you. You need 2 women than 1. Is she saying that? She changes the way she thinks. She's disappointed, she's hurt, she has thought of revenge. What kind of electricity does those, what kind of electrical impulse does those thoughts do? She gets the headache and the wrong emotion. But she cannot understand the wrong emotion, so she cannot even understand what her body tells her. Now, she is in a prison, and she would like to keep the boyfriend, but she would like to have him faithful. Does she have any guarantees that he will be faithful? Yes or no? No, because it's in his head, his faithfulness or not. So, she tries to force him to be faithful. And so she is in a circuit all the time trying to fix who? Her or him? Him. Can she fix him? Now, what convinced me that she is wrong? in the way she thinks. You see, I have a church member, she's a lady, and she says to me, you know, if I ever be sick, I don't come to you. Because he will say, you do it to yourself. So she doesn't like that either. So, who convinced me that the lady is thinking the wrong way? It was the headache. There are three things that need to convince us that we cannot change. The headache proves that she is doing something wrong in her thoughts, no matter what the event is. The second proof is the truth would make us free, but she is in the deception because she is not free. And the third is the law by which we function. So, are her expectations justified? I know, I'm finished. I have a few slides more, but I finish here. So, you have to go home unsatisfied. Are her expectations justified? Is her boyfriend or is someone responsible to you on personal level? I know what you think, even though whatever you know. I know what you think. Because we all have the same self-deception in us, by which we think what the other does hurts me. And that is not possible. But we all believe it. Because we don't see the step that I take that information and I evaluate it. We just think it's the action of the other one, while the action of the other one would do you nothing if you don't know about it. Only when you know about it, it happens in your mind. And then you get into prison. And then the start of the dysfunctions come. So we have to see that our disease comes because we evaluate the wrong way our relationships. We don't know why are we in relationships. How do relationships work so that we are always happy and not unhappy? So I'm finishing here because my time is over, and I give the microphone. But there was a question. Shall I answer that question?